Before he published the defining vampire novel of the 19th century, Bram Stoker wrote a massive introductory sequence for his protagonist. His publisher, concerned with the sheer length of the manuscript, excised it entirely. It sat in a drawer until 1914, 2 years after Stoker's death, when it was finally released as a short story, Dracula's Guest. The deleted chapter opens on a bright, joyous, early summer morning in Munich. An unnamed English traveler, presumably Jonathan Harker, hops into a carriage, ready for a leisurely drive through the countryside. As he departs, the local hotel manager politely but firmly insists that he return by dusk. The date is Walpurgisnacht, a night when, according to local tradition, the graves open and evil walks the earth. Armed with the supreme confidence of an educated modern man, the Englishman listens to this ancient, localized dread and interprets it as charming rural superstition. He takes his walking stick and heads out, certain he is completely safe in the daylight. Out in the countryside, the carriage crosses a bleak, wind-swept plateau. The traveler spots a narrow, overgrown road dipping into a deep valley. Finding the barren plateau boring, he demands the driver pull over so he can explore the detour. Johann, the coachman, is terrified. He begs the Englishman to stay in the carriage, explaining in broken English that the path leads to an unholy place, where the locals bury suicides at the crossroads. This map traces his geographical mistake. The straight plateau path remains a direct, safe route back. The winding path drops steeply into isolated geography. He walks it alone. A tall, thin man appears, and the terrified horses bolt, taking the driver with them. No one dragged the traveler into the valley. He dismissed the warnings, mocked the driver's terror, and willingly walked miles away from the main road, leaving himself entirely alone as the sun begins to set. The environment turns violently hostile. The sun vanishes behind thick, rushing clouds. The temperature plummets, and heavy snow begins falling so rapidly it creates a blinding white wall. Through the roar of the wind, a new sound cuts through the valley. It is the distinct, rhythmic howling of wolves, echoing through the timber and tracking his exact position. The snowdrifts bury the hard surface of the path. He begins to stumble aimlessly through the deep moss, blindly navigating into a dense grove of towering cypress and yew trees. The wind briefly breaks the cloud cover, and a sudden shaft of moonlight reveals his true location. He hasn't found shelter. He has wandered directly into an ancient, ruined graveyard. The cold grips his chest. He has lost his bearing, his carriage, and his daylight. His rational logic provides zero warmth in a freezing cemetery, leaving him completely exposed to the elements. Sitting dead center in the graveyard is a massive square tomb built from pure white marble. Above the door, deep Russian letters are carved into the stone. The dead travel fast. The blizzard escalates into a funnel of ice and hail. Enormous hailstones beat down with such violence they shatter the tree branches around him. He throws himself against the tomb's bronze door just to survive the crossfire. The heavy door creeps open inward. As he peers into the absolute blackness, a massive fork of lightning detonates overhead. In the blinding flash, he sees a beautiful woman resting on a bier inside, her cheeks rosy and her lips bright red. A second blinding flash strikes a massive iron spike driven through the roof of the tomb. The marble violently explodes, and the sleeping woman is briefly engulfed in a column of fire. Before he can process the sight, a giant invisible hand physically grabs the Englishman and hurls him backward into the driving hail. He hits the ground, his body battered and his mind shattered. The confident tourist is gone. He is now lying helpless in the snow, entirely at the mercy of whatever forces are actively destroying the graveyard. He wakes to a deep, terrible lethargy. His limbs are completely paralyzed. A heavy, suffocating weight crushes his chest, and he feels a rough, warm rasping against his throat. He flutters his eyelids open. Pinning him to the frozen ground is a gigantic wolf. Its 2 flaming eyes stare down into his face, its massive jaws open, panting hot, acrid breath directly onto his exposed skin. Suddenly, the woods light up with torches. A troop of cavalry soldiers breaks through the tree line, guided straight to the Englishman's exact location by the deliberate, rhythmic yelping of the giant wolf. As the soldiers drive the beast away and examine the traveler, they discover a terrifying detail. The giant wolf has spent the night pinned to his chest, using its own body heat to keep his blood circulating and keep him alive. The military escort carries him safely back to the Quatre Saisons Hotel in Munich. Exhausted and bruised, he sits by the fire, assuming he narrowly survived a freak weather event and a bizarre animal encounter. But the hotel manager, Herr Delbruck, corrects him. The troops didn't stumble upon the graveyard by accident. Delbruck had personally petitioned the local military commander for volunteers to ride out into the blizzard specifically to find him. Delbruck pulls a piece of paper from his pocket. A telegram arrived before the storm even hit, warning the hotelier to spare no expense tracking the Englishman down, stating explicitly, "There are often dangers from snow and wolves and night." The message guaranteed the hotelier's expenses with a vast personal fortune. It originated from a distant, isolated region in the east, and it was signed by the Englishman's impending host, Dracula. The monsters of Walpurgisnacht stood down, because the Englishman was already spoken for. He was a guest of the Count, and the predators of the forest were under strict orders to ensure he reached his final destination alive.